morning to all. Dear student, welcome back to the biology class. Today we'll study the chapter 14, natural resources. Means we'll continue the chapter 14, that is natural resources. Today in this chapter we'll learn about the mineral riches in the soil. So before we'll start our class, please be ready with your book. Minerals riches in the soil. Soil is an important resource that decides the diversity of life in an area. So soil is one of the important resource which decided the various life forms in a particular area. But what is the soil and how it is formed? What is soil and how it is formed? So today here we will learn about what is soil and how it is formed. The outermost layer of our earth is called the crust, and the minerals found in this layer supply a variety of nutrients to life form. So the outermost layer of the earth is called the crust, and here the different type of minerals are found which supply a variety of various nutrients to life form. But these minerals will not be available to the organism if the minerals are bound up in huge rocks. Over a long period of time, thousands and millions of years, the rock at or near the surface of the earth are broken down by various physical, chemical and some biological processes. The end product of this breaking down is the fine particles of soil. But what are the factors or processes that make soil? So, if the nutrients are bounded inside a huge rock, then it will be not available for all organisms to get it. So, over the long period of time, thousands or millions of years, the rocks at or near the surface of the earth are broken down by various physical, chemical and biological processes, and whatever the end product get from that end product is a fine particles, a very tiny particles of a soil. But what are the factors or processes that make soil? So here, the sun. The sun heats up rocks during the day so that they expand. Maybe you know that when we'll heat some material, some metal, then it will be expand. So in the daytime, when the sun rays will be there, so sun heat up the rocks during the day and the rocks will be expand. At night, these rocks cool down and contract. So at daytime they are expand, but at night time what happen? They will contract because the rocks cool down. Since all part of the rocks do not expand and contract at the same rate, this results in the formation of cracks, and ultimately the huge rocks break up into smaller pieces. So like that, due to the sun, soil are formed. Water helps in the formation of soil in two ways. One, water could get into the crack in the rock formed due to uneven heating by the sun. If this water later freezes, it would cause the crack to widen. Can you think why this should be so? 2. Flowing water wears away even hard rocks over long period of time. Fast flowing water often carries big and small particles of rocks downstream. These rocks rub against other rocks and the resultant abrasion causes the rocks to wear down into smaller and smaller particles. The water then takes these particles along with it and deposits it further down its path. Soil is thus found in places far away from its parent rock. So what will happen? Water can break down the rocks into two ways. One, whatever the cracks will be occur in the rocks due to the sun heat, so water will be enter there and it's make that crack more wider. Like that they will make the soil. Another, fast flowing water can hit the rock and some particles will be come out or break from the rock and it will be flow with the water and they are deposited in the bank of a water bodies. A very means every time some small amounts of soil rocks will be break down and it will be flow with the water and deposited in one place, and after a long time, after a long period, it will become a deposition of huge soil particles. Okay. Next one, wind. In a process similar to the way in which water rubs against rocks and wear them down, strong wind also erode rocks down. The wind also carries sand from one place to the other like water does. Okay. Living organism also influence the formation of soil. The lichen that we read about earlier also grows on the surface of rocks. While growing, they release certain substance that cause the rock surface to powder down and form a thin layer of soil. Other small plants like moss are able to grow on this surface now and they cause the rock to break up further. The roots of big trees sometimes go into crack in the rocks and as the roots grow bigger, the crack is forced bigger. So like that also soil are formed because all living organism also influence like lichen. They grow on the rock surface. While growing, they release some certain substance that cause rock surface to powder down, form a thin layer of soil. And other plants like mosses and mosses are able to grow on this surface and they cause the rock to break up further. The roots of big tree also enter the crack part of the rocks and it's when they will be grow bigger, the crack is forced to be bigger. Like that also some parts of the rocks will be broken down and form a soil. Soil is a mixture. It contains small particles of rock. It also contains bits of decayed living organisms which is called humus. In addition, soil also contains various forms of microscopic life. The types of soil is decided by the average size of particles found in it. And the quality of the soil is decided by the amount of humus and the microscopic organism found in it. So what soil is a what? It is a mixture. It contains small particles of the rocks and also it contains the decayed part of the means those organisms who dead and their all parts decomposed and mixed up with the soil. So that parts of a living organism called the humus that is also added in the soil, and other microscopic organisms also, microscopic life also mixed in the soil. So all together it's from the soil. So soil is decided, the average size of the soil is decided according to the particles found in there, and the quality of the soil is decided by the amount of humus. How much the percentage of the humus and microscopic organism are found in that soil, their quality will be decided by collecting them. Humus is a major factor in deciding the soil structure because it causes the soil to become more porous and allows water and air to penetrate deep underground. The mineral nutrients that are found in a particular soil depends on the rocks it was formed from, the nutrient content of a soil, the amount of humus present in it, and the depth of the soil are some of the factors that decide which plants will thrive on that soil, which plants will grow on that soil. Thus, the topmost layer of the soil that contain humus and living organism in addition to the soil particles is called the topsoil. So, the topmost layer of the soil that contains the humus and living organism, so that particles of the soil are called as the topsoil. The quality of the topsoil is an important factor that decides biodiversity in that area. So, the quality of the topsoil is the important factors and that decided whatever the biodiversity are there in that particular area. Modern farming practice involve the use of large amount of fertilizers and pesticides. Use of these substances over long period of time can destroy the soil structure by killing the soil microorganisms that recycle nutrients in the soil. It also kills the earthworms which are instrumental in making the rich humus. Fertile soil can quickly be turned barren if sustainable particles are not followed. Removal of unuseful components from the soil and addition of other substances which adversely affect the fertility of the soil and kill the diversity of organisms that live in it is called soil pollution. The soil that we see today in one place has been created over a long period of time. However, some of the factors that created the soil in the first place and brought the soil to that place may be responsible for the removal of the soil too. The fine particles of soil may be carried away by flowing water or wind. If all the soil gets washed away and the rocks underneath are exposed, we have lost a valuable resource because very little will grow on the rocks. The roots of plants have an important role in preventing soil erosion. The large-scale deforestation that is happening all over the world not only destroy biodiversity, it also lead to soil erosion. So what is the soil erosion? Means removal of the topsoil is called as soil erosion. And the roots of a plants are having a very important role to prevent the soil erosion. What the roots will do? They will hold the soil nearby very tightly. Okay, so it will not allow the soil to erode. And it will help to prevent the biodiversity of that particular area also. Topsoil that is bare of vegetation is likely to be removed very quickly, and this is accelerated in hilly or mountainous region. This process of soil erosion is very difficult to reverse. Vegetative cover on the ground has a role to play in the percolation of water into the deeper layers too. Our next topic is biochemical cycles. A constant interaction between the biotic and abiotic components of the biosphere makes it a dynamic but stable system. That means what? Interaction between the biotic and the abiotic components of a biosphere makes what? A system that is dynamic but stable. Okay? Stable dynamic means they are changing also, but they will go in a same way. Means they will stable in a one place, but their things are changing. This interaction consists of a transfer of matter and energy between the different components of the biosphere. This is what? This interaction consists of a what? Transfer of matters and energies between the different components of the biosphere. Let us look at some process involved in the maintenance of the above balance. our first biochemical cycle is the water cycle. You have seen how the water evaporates from the water bodies and subsequent condensation of this water vapor leads to rain. So maybe the student about the water cycle, all of you know, because in the lower classes also you got the water cycle. Okay. So how it will be do. So here again we will rephrase about the water cycle. So in water cycle what will happen? Whatever the waters are there in the water bodies, they will evaporate when the sun heat rises. Okay. And they goes above the atmosphere, and there it is condenses and form a clouds, and when the clouds will become heavy, they will fall down in the form of a rain, and again they will flow to the water body. So this same thing will changing is there, because water will change into the water vapor, that is the gas, then it will be again form the clouds, that is a solid, then it will be again fall down in the form of a water liquid. So things are changing, but it is constantly stable in a one place and one way only it is going on. Okay. So but we don't see the seas and oceans drying up. So how is the water returning to this water body? So you know that waters are evaporating due to the sun heat from the water bodies. They condense on the atmosphere, then they will fall down in the form of a rain. But this process are going on continuous, but why the seas and oceans are not drying up? So how the water returning these water bodies? How the water will be returned again to the water bodies? The whole process is in which water evaporates and falls on the land as rain and later flows back into the sea via river is known as the water cycle. This cycle is not as straightforward and simple as this statement seems to imply. All of the water that falls on this land does not immediately flow back into the sea. Some of it seeps into the soil and becomes part of the underground reservoir of fresh water. So, when the rain falls, okay, water will be fall on the land. Some amount of water will be flow back to the water bodies, but some amount of water will be go down, sip by the soil and go down, and that form a underground water which is fit for drinking. Okay. All of the some of it sip down and it's a fresh water. Some of this underground water find its way to the surface through spring, or we bring it to the surface for our use through well or tube wells. Water is also used by terrestrial animals and plants for various life processes. Here is the diagram of a water cycle. Look, this is a ground level of groundwater, surface water, whatever that means water bodies. Water will be evaporate up, it's from the cloud. Okay. Then it's from the rain and snow. So transpiration from the tree also it goes out. Respiration also it is goes up. So like that these things are happen. Okay. Let us look at another aspect of what happened to water during the water cycle. As you know, water is capable of dissolving a large number of substances. As water flows through or over rocks containing soluble minerals, some of them get dissolved in the water. Thus, rivers carry many nutrients from the land to the sea, and these are used by the marine organisms. So, as you know that water is a solvent which can dissolve many substances in it. So, while flowing from the land to the water bodies, the water dissolves the minerals which are found in the land with that, and that minerals or nutrients they carry to the sea or the ocean, and that minerals or nutrients are used by the marine organisms. Okay. So student, this much for today's class. In the next class, we'll learn more about the biochemical cycles, that is the nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, oxygen cycles, and also the greenhouse effect. But before ending, here are some home assignment questions for you. Write down the answer and send me in the WhatsApp group. Thank you and have a nice day.